And welcome to the Asset Preservation Hour. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Stewart Willis. Stewart is the president of Asset Preservation Tax and Retirement Services. Stewart, how are you today?
Doing unbelievably well. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. It's always such a pleasure to see you, and I know you have such amazing information to share with the viewers at home, and you've been very busy, so let's talk about that. What has life been like in the office for you lately?
Well, lately it's just about, finding content for the shows, I mean, I have a lot of clients out there and fans that like to say, hey, you know what, you said that last time. So we're constantly researching, finding stuff that's really important to our, our audience, and we want to make sure we're delivering good information each and every show.
Absolutely. Well, Stewart, today's show is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk about the current state of the economy, Social Security, and tax planning. So I have to ask you, Stewart, what are we seeing in the market right now?
Well, I think the one thing that can describe all of what we're seeing is the word volatility. We talk about it all the time, but the markets are moving, quite, viciously there, up and down. And, we have to find different strategies to work around them. And so the volatility is really shaking up a lot of people. So a lot of conservative investors that are used to seeing very, very methodical, consistent growth are starting to feel this whipsaw back and forth and back and forth. And I think that's why it's really important for people to make sure that they're in the right portfolios. We've had 12 years of some of the greatest market the world has ever seen, and I think everybody's appetite for return is pretty high. But now that we're starting to see shakeups in the market, you really have to make sure you're positioned right in your portfolios to handle that volatility. When we look at where we are, to your original question, we're at all-time highs in the market. Plus or minus a few percentage points. On a daily basis that changes. We're at all-time lows in the interest rate environment. But, while I say volatility is the one thing that concerns me the most, I would say the one thing that's concerning my clients the most is inflation. And, we are seeing absolutely record numbers of inflation, numbers we haven't seen since the 70s. When we go to the gas pump and we're paying 50% more now than we did a year ago. It's incredible. Steak and meats are up, in double digits. It's really, really expensive out there. But we're seeing this really neat wealth effect out there where, listen, we've built up a lot of wealth in this country over the last decade. And, so sometimes a lot of these costs are mitigated by the fact, this wealth effect, people have, quadrupled their money over the last 4 years. So, it's one of those things. I do have a graphic that I want to point to you here. It's a graphic that we just had created regarding inflation. Now, if you want to put inflation into perspective, of course, on the right is where we are today. We haven't seen this level of inflation, since the 70s. And I think it's really important to understand that we're at, right around 7% inflation. It is, it's a big deal. And so what I'm seeing as a result of that is that people are trying to pull money off the table out of their bank. So, for example, we have clients that have been happy having, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 plus sitting in their checking accounts, their money market accounts off to the side. Now what they're realizing that is, hey, if we're at a 7% inflation rate and they're making a half a point, they're actually now losing buying power on that money. So I'm seeing a lot of that money coming off the, the boards now eligible to be invested. But people have to be very cautious because of this high market that we're in as well.
Well, Stewart, obviously you've mentioned the word volatility. I want to circle back to that just a little bit. What is causing the volatility?
The old circle back. I like that. All right.
Circle back.
Well, most likely we're coming to the end of this bull market. And remember, the stock market and the economy are two different things. But this bull market, I would definitely say we're closer to the end of this market than we are to the beginning of it. And most likely we're getting, closer to a recessive territory or recession. And I would just say that these early stages of recession, look imminent here. We know they may not be a week away, but we know they're closer than, a few years from now, for sure.
Well, when you say recession, that sounds scary. So what can we possibly do to prepare? And what exactly does that mean, the word recession, Stewart?
Well, just remember, recession is part of the natural economic cycle. Many of our portfolios are designed to assume recession is coming, and we actually adapt to it. One of our portfolio managers who manages a big portion of our portfolios for our clients is actually hoping for it. They want recession because they know that'll separate them from everybody else. What we've seen over the last decade is that or over the last 12 years is the market has multiplied 500 plus percentage points, and so it's given a lot of people this kind of false sense of knowledge and ability to manage their money because everyone's been making money. Cynthia, I jokingly always say, a blind chicken could have made money in this market, right? So I think a lot of people that have been self-managers here have this false sense of, oh my gosh, I'm really smart. I'm smarter than our advisors. And some of them are. I have some clients that are doing unbelievably well. But the really smart ones realize that, the end is coming eventually. And, sometimes it takes one of our clients to go to their spouse and say, hey, honey, I think it's time that we seek professional help here because, it's one thing if you're building, in an extension on your garage. But if you're gambling with your entire life savings, as a do-it-yourselfer, that's a huge risk to take.
Well, Stewart, I have to ask you again, is there anything that we can do to protect ourselves with all of the changes that are coming?
No, yeah, and I think that's what makes asset preservation, different than the other companies here, is that we have portfolios in place that can adapt for that. We can, make sure that, you have diversification of your portfolios. A lot of people will come into us to do our portfolio analysis with big portfolios, not just dollar amounts, but a lot of positions, and they feel diversified because they've got a lot of positions. I would just say it's really important to test that diversification, to test the amount of risk that you're taking, and to test the amount of fees that you're paying inside your portfolio.
Well, Stewart, I know you have a very special offer to present to the viewers at home today. Let's talk about what that is before we open the phone lines.
Sure. Well, what we're offering the audience today is a complimentary portfolio review. And in that complimentary portfolio review, what we're going to do is we are going to look at the risks. We're going to look at the fees that you have hidden in there. And we're going to look at any sort of, tax concerns that we have regarding your portfolio. But you have to take action today and give us a call at 833-652-7829. We'd be glad to help. We have tons of, clients that are now clients, audience members that have been watching our show for a long time, and they were just nervous to call. But if you have taken retirement seriously and you've put away money for retirement and you really are looking for help, we'd be glad to give you a second opinion.
Stewart, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 833-652-7829. We know you have a lot of questions for Stewart about how to plan your perfect retirement. He has the answers for you. We have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about Social Security planning and how to maximize your 401k. Stay tuned.
What happens oftentimes is we'll run into clients or potential clients that have saved all this money, but they're 75, 80 years old. They've got this big pile of money, but they're not enjoying retirement because they're so worried about running out of money that they never actually get to enjoy their life's work. And so to me, it's really rewarding to be able to create a plan so that these people can have a great time in retirement, knowing that they're not going to run out, that they're going to be fine. I think it brings a smile to their face.
We get a lot of different people at a lot of different stages in their lives. And what we're able to do is, for some folks, it's able to tell them that you're on track. Keep doing what you're doing, and 15 years from now, you'll be retired and enjoying life the way you want it to be. For some people, it's people coming in and they're 3 to 5 years away from retirement, and you're able to tell them that, you know what, 5 years, 3 years, tomorrow, you're ready to go.
We are a complete shop. We handle estate planning, taxes, financial planning. We do a really in-depth cash flow analysis that is way more detailed than you'll see in the market.
Everything all in one spot, with the left hand always knowing what the right hand's doing. Because it's not just about the investments, but how's that going to affect your taxes. It's not where are you going to be 5 years from now, 15 years from now. And it's that back and forth full view of what the clients, not only today, but tomorrow and their legacy down the road is going to be, that really sets us apart.
And welcome back to the Asset Preservation Hour. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Stewart Willis. Stewart is the president of Asset Preservation Tax and Retirement Services. Stewart, a wonderful show that we're having today, talking about very important topics circling around retirement, of course. Wanted to talk to you in this segment a little bit about Social Security. Is there any planning that you can do in this area?
Yeah, absolutely, Cynthia. I think the one thing is people have to put into perspective the value of their Social Security. Listen, a lot of our clients, they've done a really good job. They put away 500 grand, $1 million into their 401ks and all of their investments. And so they really kind of poo-poo Social Security like, hey, it's no big deal. We'll just take it as soon as we can. Let me just tell you, there's tons of mistakes that are made when it comes to filing for Social Security. And I think it's really important to have a plan when it comes to that. Now, listen, if you've already filed for Social Security, don't feel bad. There's ways that we can plan around it. But it's definitely important to make sure you have a plan. For example, a lot of couples are going to see between $900,000 and $1.5 million of Social Security benefit, throughout their lifetime. And the one thing to remember is that there's a few important dates when it comes to Social Security. The first one is 62. That's the earliest that you're allowed to file for Social Security. The next age that's really important is what we call your FRA, or your full retirement age. Now that's variable. It started at one time at 65. Now it's at 66 and 2 months. For a lot of the audience here, it's 66 and 4 months or 6 months, eventually moving up to 67 years old. So, that is a moving target. The other target that's really important, the other age, is 70. And the reason 70 is so important as an age, it's the latest you can defer your Social Security. So, Cynthia, a lot of times people are wondering, well, why would we delay it? We hear Social Security's going broke, or does it really make sense to take it? It's going to take me so long to break even, so I'm going to just take it at 62. Well, remember, if you're taking it at 62, you are getting what we call an actuarial reduction. You're taking less money over time, and depending on your situation, that break even, gets there really quickly. So, for married couples, in the past, when we had tons of options, it never made sense to take it at 62. Now I'm open to it if we can cash flow it out and it makes sense. But the reason I like oftentimes for people to delay Social Security is because it gives us time to plan. It gives us time to, look at kind of tax options and so forth, because there's a lot of tax options there that people just aren't considering when it comes to Social Security.
Stewart, I should also ask you, do you see any changes coming regarding Social Security?
Well, Cynthia, listen, I've been wrong before. We used to do these great workshops that, we'd have 100, 120 people at these workshops at libraries, standing room only, because we were bringing a message to Arizona about how to plan for Social Security. And, I always told people, don't worry, you're the biggest voting bloc, they'll never take your benefits away. And actually in 2015, there were tremendous amounts of benefits that were taken away during, it was the Budget Act of 2015, during Obama's era. And some of those are the file and restrict options, where you are allowed to basically take a portion of your spouse's and let yours grow. There's also the file and suspended, which was eliminated almost immediately there. So I have to eat my words sometimes and just realize that, hey, things change, and I never thought I'd see it happen, when it comes to changes in Social Security.
Well, I have to ask you, obviously, those are some really big changes that we're speaking of. So I guess, why wasn't there more of an uproar, Stewart?
Yeah, you know what? The media was silent. People didn't get upset because they didn't know it happened. We had a veteran that came into our workshop, and it was right in 2014, and I remember he loved the plan. He put the plan in order, and then he revisited in 2015, a year before he was going to retire, and right after this bill had passed, he realized, oh my gosh, I'm 2 weeks too young to implement the file and suspend option. And they got rid of his option. So everybody's situation is different. Sometimes it makes sense to file early, sometimes it doesn't. But it's really unbelievable that that the media was so silent about the taking away of tremendous amounts of Social Security benefits, because in their mind they were only targeting the rich. And it sounds very similar to what we're seeing during this administration as well.
Well, Stewart, what else should we know about Social Security?
Yeah, so I think the one thing to know is that Social Security was never meant to be taxable, but it is actually taxable in certain situations. So back in when Franklin Delano Roosevelt, thought up Social Security, he always said that Social Security would never be a revenue source for taxation. But believe it or not, it was Ronald Reagan, a Republican, that allowed for it to be taxable for the first time ever in 1983. And then Bill Clinton made it more taxable, up to 85% taxable. And what determines that taxation is something we call provisional income. And provisional income, without getting into the weeds here, is basically all of your taxable income plus 50% of your Social Security benefit. The one thing to know about that is those tax thresholds, those income thresholds for taxation on Social Security, haven't changed since 1983. So a lot of those numbers that start at $25,000 were intended to tax the high income earners in retirement, and now $25,000 is nothing. If you adjust it for inflation, I think that number is right around $62,000 that the threshold should be at.
Wow.
But it's not. It hasn't. We haven't seen the cost of living adjustment to those taxable thresholds.
Well, I should ask you, sir, is there anything you can do about the taxes on Social Security? Anything at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to know that there are things that we can do when it comes to that. When it comes to taxation on Social Security, you need to make sure you have a plan. I think it's just important to know all your facts.
I think we should talk more about that when we come back from a quick break. What do you think?
I love it.
Okay. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is once again on your screen. That number is 833-652-7829. We know that you have a lot of questions for Stewart about how to plan your perfect retirement, perhaps questions about taxes, questions about Social Security. He is here to give you those answers. All you have to do today is pick up the phone and call 833-652-7829. The consultation is completely complimentary. We have to take a very short commercial break, but as I mentioned, we're going to talk more about Social Security and taxes when we return.
This is the story of how you get from here to there. Right now you're here, but in the future, you want to be there. And from here, there looks pretty good. But so few get to there. Why? Well, of those who do make it, some will have luck, but most will have a strategy. They will save and invest, grow and protect, and they will work with advisors who will help guide their way. If you're looking to get somewhere, to get there, we know how to set a course. It's what we do, and we do it well. We're investment specialists, retirement advisors, insurance experts, and financial planners. We have innovative wealth tracking tools to monitor your progress every step of the way. Wherever you are now, we can help you get to where you want to be. The road between here to there is shorter for those who know the way.
And welcome back to the Asset Preservation Hour. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Stewart Willis. He is president of Asset Preservation Tax and Retirement Services. Stewart, a great show we're having today, talking about a topic that people are so interested in, taxes and Social Security. So I want to talk about any solutions to taxations on Social Security. What advice do you have?
Well, I think the one important thing, Cynthia, is just to make sure that you create a very efficient, environment, a retirement environment that considers Social Security. Some examples of that is, for example, relying on the Roth. Okay, and what I mean by that is that, what a Roth is, and I think we should always define this for people, the difference between a Roth and a traditional IRA or traditional 401k is that with a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA, you're getting a discount up front, it seems like, which means that you basically get a deduction from your tax returns for the current year by putting money away into retirement. So, the government kind of induced you to say, hey, if you put away these savings, you'll save X amount on taxes. For example, if you make, $50,000 a year at work, and you're, and I'm going to use easy math here, just to make sure my little brain can keep up with, live talk here. If you make $50,000 a year, you're putting away 20% of your income into Social Security, into 401ks or IRAs, et cetera. You're putting away $10,000 a year. Well, the benefit historically of that has been that, okay, well, you're not going to have to pay tax on $10,000. And, it's easy to do. It's automated inside your work plans. People love to do it. Or if you're visiting your tax, your tax preparer during tax time, they'll say, hey, if you put $4,000 away, you can save, 20% of that. You're going to save $800 if you put it away now. And you'll say, oh, great, I want to save $800. Let's do it. And so what people have done is they've created these big, tax time bombs there. Well, with the Roth, you don't get a deduction now, right? And you end up paying taxes on the money you're still putting away for retirement. So, for a lot of people, they're disincentivized from doing that. But Cynthia, the benefit of it is that, with a Roth, when you take withdrawals, there's no taxation.
Okay.
With an IRA, you're going to pay that taxes, when you're retired. And now the argument has always been that you're going to be at a lower tax bracket when you're retired. So, just put it away now because your income is going to go down. What people didn't consider, and I'm sure, listen, your tax people are, I'm sure, great people, but listen, our tax preparers were the same way. They were in the mindset of tax preparation, not tax planning. What they saw at the time was, hey, we can save our clients money right now. The problem with that is they did create that massive tax time bomb. And not only are you going to pay taxes later, there's a couple downsides to that. One being, when you take it out in retirement, you now are going to, increase the likelihood of paying tax on Social Security, back to taxation on Social Security, right? Now, with a Roth, your Roth doesn't affect any Social Security benefits at this time. So if you put $1 million away into Roth and you take it all out at once, nothing happens tax-wise. If you take $1 million out of your IRA or 401k, well, you're going to be hit with tons of taxes, Medicare penalties, Social Security will become taxable, etc. And of course, that's true at lower dollar amounts as well. So I think it's really important not to just plan for today, but to plan for a lifetime. And when it comes to Roths, it's really, really important to consider whether it's a benefit for you or not. And, I just don't know that people are doing that.
Well, Stewart, I have to ask you, what about people that have worked their entire life and they're putting their money into those tax-deferred accounts, their 401ks, their IRAs, what have you? What can they do right now?
Well, there is a lot of options. So for a lot of people that have built up this tremendous amount of money inside their 401ks or their IRAs because they've followed instructions all these years by putting it away, there are actually some options. One of those is Roth conversion. And what Roth conversion is when you move the money basically, from a pre-tax environment and you pay the taxes now. I talk about this all the time, Cynthia, that we are in the most efficient tax window in history right now. And if you don't take advantage of where we are today, it could be a big, big mistake. Because remember, now I don't know what the future holds, but we know for certain that the Trump tax cuts are going to sunset in 2026. So you only have between now and then to be able to, take advantage of these low tax rates. And I think it's really important that you do that.
Absolutely. And Stewart, I know that we have so many viewer questions that come in every week, but there's one that I think specifically is going to tie into our topic today.
Sure.
What they would like to know is, Stewart, what is the difference between a Roth conversion and a Roth contribution? Can you help me understand the difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people will come into my office because, they watch the show for a minute or two, but they don't listen to the whole thing. And I try to explain this. You may not be eligible for a Roth contribution because your income is too high. But there are a couple ways, including Roth conversions, that will allow you to convert over, because there is no limit to how much you can convert at this time. There's a limit to how much you can contribute, so higher income earners may not have the eligibility to even contribute. But remember, you can convert. So a lot of people that have spent their lifetime putting money away into 401k plans and so forth, what we do at Asset Preservation is we create a real plan. Now, we have a tax office at our West Valley office, and we're opening it here at our Scottsdale office as well. And the whole purpose of our tax office isn't about tax preparation. It's really just about tax planning. And that tax planning is about learning how to diffuse that tax time bomb over time in the most efficient way. We have really easy ways to reach us. Not only can you call the phone number, we have that QR code that's been on the screen the entire show there. If you click on that QR code, it'll take you right to our website where you can, apply for the complimentary portfolio analysis. We'd be glad to help.
Stewart, with only a couple minutes left in the show, I do want to ask you one more viewer question.
Sure.
I'd like to know, is it difficult to do a Roth conversion on an IRA?
Absolutely not. It's super simple. And, all it is a single form, but it's not about how easy it is. It's about how informed your decision is. So yes, it just takes a signature and a couple, check marks, and you get it done. But does it make sense for you? I think it's really important to make sure it makes sense for you. And a lot of people say, well, my financial advisor never mention that to me. It's because most of these big box firms prohibit their advisors from talking about tax. They say, hey, go talk to your tax person. Your tax person says, go talk to your financial advisor. And guess what? You're at a stalemate. You never make a decision. So what we do at Asset Preservation is, we provide a venue for you to be able to take care of your taxes, your estate planning, your financial planning, Medicare planning, all that stuff in one place.
Well, Stewart, only a minute left of the show this week. Any final words of wisdom you want to give the viewers at home?
Absolutely. I think it's super important that you take action. You guys know that there's issues out there. You have concerns about your portfolios, your taxes, etc. Click on that QR code. Go to our website at apsitaxes.com or give us a call at 833-652-7829. We'd be glad to help and give you a second opinion, but you have to take action.
Stewart, thank you so much for another amazing show this week. To the viewers at home, most specifically, thank you for spending time with us. That number to call is 833-652-7829. Any questions about how to retire comfortably or retire with confidence, Stewart has the answers for you. Again, the number is 833-652-7829. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back here 1 week from today.